We cannot wait until everyone can get this incredible new book from our very own Harris Faulkner. The book is Faith Still Moves Mountains, Miraculous Stories of the Healing Power of Prayer. And it explores the power of faith and prayer in some of life's worst situations. From the aftermath of the devastating earthquake in Haiti to the theater shooting in Aurora, Colorado, believers spoke to Harris on how God inspired hope even when all seemed lost. Harris writes, Faith Still Moves Mountains reminds us that God's light always shines through darkness. Through these testimonies, we learn prayer is a vital spiritual strategy in a world that wants us to give up the fight. How beautiful, Harris. What made you write this book?
You know, I think in part because I see it in people right now, that they are losing that sense of where to go to when problems happen. But scientifically, too, there is, you know, a look at this. Gallup polling, which has been looking at whether or not people believe in God since the 1950s, says that a larger percentage still do believe, but there's a huge loss of percentage in people who believe that God actually does anything in our lives. So they don't even really know what they're praying to, and so they're not really praying. They're asking like God's Santa Claus and bartering and negotiating with whatever they think is on the other side of a prayer. And praying is designed to be a listening moment with the Lord. Silent, listen, have the same letters. So we have to be quiet when we pray sometimes too. Let those answers wash over us. And I talk about having a divine assignment in your life in the book a lot. Because I do think that sometimes when you're going through difficult times and you pray to the Lord and you feel an urge to just get up and go do something and it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm struggling financially. Why would I go work for a charity for nothing? But then you see that through God's timing and His plan for your life, if you're just open to it, that light that you shine for others lights your way too. And there's a way to be a blessing even when you feel like you're not being blessed. And this too shall end. But we have to believe all the way through that journey. I loved every moment of doing this, and I hadn't intended to do it.
And you talk about God's timing. What called you to write this book now?
So, Emily, in seeing where people are right now, and foundationally, you know, we cover so much news where people are doing unspeakable things to each other in public, and they know they're on camera. There is no decency of the heart that's accountable to something greater. And I think we need that in our lives. I think we need to get that back. And as a journalist, I cover enough stories where we've taken faith out of the schools. I know you talk about the youth all the time, David. There's one particular story of some teenagers that go through a harrowing experience, and their rescue has God's imprint right on it. Like, you couldn't miss it. It's so beautiful. And how it's then transformed as they've grown a little bit older and changed their perceptions about where you go to with your problems. I don't want to be a society that tolerates a jewelry store owner getting hit in the head with a hammer, and then the guy doesn't feel like he does enough damage and jumps over the counter. We saw that in our news today, in our news reporting. That's one of the captures from inside a jewelry store. New York City, where we saw a school teacher just months ago get hit in the head 57 times on the way down some subway steps. That's not who we can become, and that's not who we can tolerate amongst us. So what I love about sharing a foundational place for everybody to go to, hope is not lost, but hope isn't a strategy. You have to take it to the Lord in prayer at every step of the way, when it's good and when it's not. Constant contact with God.
Well, and Harris, you tell stories that need to be told, that people who rely on faith and use God and rely on God to get them through some tough times. Can you give us a glimpse into one of those stories?
Well, one of my favorites is Ernestine, and I covered this Alabama Twisters outbreak a couple of years ago. In fact, President Trump was there after this one street was hit so hard in Lee County, Alabama. Well, Ernestine, everybody in her stretch, all those houses were gone. Hers too. Down to the concrete slab. One room where she used to go to pray. Her prayer room survived, and she was in it.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And how she survived, and what she told God as the storm was tearing everything around her apart. I think everybody should read that, because doesn't it feel like sometimes the storm is ripping us apart? I mean, look at Florida right now. And I have a section in the book that you'll be able to download by PDF if you get the audiobook, because I think it's so important also to read it in your hands. It's a topic and then a prayer. I worked with a theologian to give a topic, like how to be an intercessor. We say, oh, girl, I'm going to pray for you. And then you never do, because you don't really know what to pray for somebody else. But now when I say I'm going to pray for the people of Florida, I have a plan. I have the wording for that, and I wanted to give that to people as a blessing.
I love this,
That is
Harris.
so
This is, this is really awesome.
That story
I want
about
to read this.
right now.
The Ernestine story gives you chills. I saw you, Emily.
Yeah.
I know, we were all like,
How beautiful.
This is awesome, Harris.
We
Thank
are
you so
so
much.
happy
I
for
love you guys so
Congratulations.
much. Thank you.
Good for you
this.
for writing this.
Yeah.
Faith Still Moves Mountains is out on November 15th. You can order your copy now at foxnewsbooks.com, wherever books are sold. More Outnumbered in just a moment.